Ever wondered how to talk about the weather in English? Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to tackle this universally popular small talk topic, the weather. Whether it's sunny or rainy, windy or snowy, being able to discuss the weather in English is a key skill. It's not just about vocabulary, it's about connecting with others, filling those silent moments, and making conversation. So are you ready to dive into the world of weather-related English conversations? First things first, we need to understand some basic weather vocabulary. Let's kick things off with some simple, everyday terms. Imagine stepping outside and feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin. That's what we call a sunny day. Now, if the sky is filled with fluffy white or gray masses, we say it's cloudy. But what if those clouds decide to let loose some water? Well, then it's a rainy day. Sometimes the rain can be so heavy that we call it a downpour or a storm. On the other hand, if it's just a light sprinkle, we might say it's drizzling. Now let's add a little more excitement. If the trees are swaying and your hat flies off your head, it's a windy day. But if it's so calm that not even a single leaf is stirring, we'd say there's no wind, or it's still. Temperature-wise, if you're reaching for a cold drink and wishing for an air conditioner, it's probably hot. But if you're bundled up in layers and sipping hot cocoa, you're definitely experiencing a cold day. We also have words for those in-between temperatures. If it's not too hot, not too cold, but just right, we'd say it's a mild or moderate day. And if it's a little chilly but not quite freezing, it's cool. Here's how you might use these words in sentences. You could say, it's a sunny day, perfect for a picnic. Or perhaps, it's so windy I can't even hold on to my hat. Maybe, the weather is quite mild today, I think I'll go for a walk. These are just some of the basic weather terms in English, but there are plenty more. From fog and mist to hail and sleet, the English language has a myriad of words to describe every kind of weather condition you can imagine. Now that we've got the basics down, let's move on to some common phrases and questions related to the weather. Now, let's explore some common phrases and questions we can use when talking about the weather. First up, the most basic question, what's the weather like? This is a versatile question you can ask anyone, anywhere, to start a conversation about the weather. Here's a short conversation as an example. Imagine two friends meeting up. One asks, what's the weather like? The other might respond, it's a bit chilly today. Next we have the phrase, it's raining cats and dogs. Now don't worry, no animals are falling from the sky. This is just a fun way to say that it's raining heavily. Here's how you can use it. Imagine you're on a phone call and the person asks, what's the weather like? You can reply, it's raining cats and dogs here. Moving on, we have, it's a beautiful day. We use this phrase when the weather is nice, sunny, and pleasant. It's a positive phrase that can brighten up any conversation. For instance, you run into a neighbor and they ask, what's the weather like? You can say, it's a beautiful day. Another common phrase is, it's freezing outside. We use this when it's very cold. Let's see it in action. Imagine you're at home and someone asks, what's the weather like? You can respond, it's freezing outside. Then there's, it's a scorcher today. This is used to describe a very hot day. So, if someone asks, what's the weather like? And it's particularly hot, you can say, it's a scorcher today. We also have the phrase, there's not a cloud in the sky. This is used to describe a clear, sunny day. For example, your friend asks, what's the weather like? You can reply, there's not a cloud in the sky. Lastly, let's look at, it's a bit breezy. This phrase is used when the wind is blowing more than usual. For instance, if someone asks, what's the weather like? And there's a wind blowing, you can say, it's a bit breezy. Now remember, these are just some examples. The beauty of language is that it's flexible. You can mix and match these phrases based on the weather condition and your personal style. So, let's do a quick recap. We learned how to ask about the weather with, what's the weather like? We also learned how to describe different weather conditions with phrases like, it's raining cats and dogs, it's a beautiful day, it's freezing outside, it's a scorcher today, there's not a cloud in the sky, and it's a bit breezy. Great work. Now, we can start building our own weather-related conversations. We've learned the vocabulary and phrases, now it's time to use them in a conversation. Imagine a scenario where you encounter a friend on the street, and you want to engage in a friendly chat about the weather. Here's how the conversation might go. You start with a greeting, hello John, it's great to see you. John responds, yes, it's been a while, how are you? You reply, I'm well thank you. What a sunny day we have today, isn't it? You've just used a weather-related phrase to keep the conversation going. John may respond, yes, it's quite warm for February. Notice how John also used a weather phrase to continue the conversation. Now let's take it a step further. You could say, I heard it's going to cool down by the weekend though. Here you're not only talking about the current weather but also the weather forecast, which adds another layer to your conversation. John might reply, "Really? I was planning a picnic with my family this weekend. I hope it doesn't rain." In this response, John is expressing his hope about the future weather, which is another way to extend the conversation. You could then say, "Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Weather can be so unpredictable, can it?" This statement shows you're open to discussing the uncertainty of weather forecasts, inviting further conversation. Through this example, you can see how a simple conversation about the weather can become engaging and meaningful. It's all about using the right vocabulary and phrases at the right time. Remember, conversations about the weather are not just about stating the obvious. They're about sharing experiences, expressing hopes, and acknowledging uncertainties. And the beauty of it is, weather is a universal topic, something we all experience, making it a great conversation starter. So, the next time you meet someone, don't shy away from discussing the weather. It's a conversation everyone can participate in, and who knows? You might just brighten someone's day with your sunny disposition. See? It's not that hard to talk about the weather in English. Talking about the current weather is great, but what if we want to discuss the forecast? Weather forecasts are a common topic in daily conversations and can be a great way to practice your English. So, let's dive into it. Firstly, we have the word predict. This is a verb that we use when we want to say what we think will happen in the future based on information that we have now. For instance, we might say, "The weatherman predicts rain for tomorrow." The next word is forecast. This is both a verb and a noun. As a verb, it is similar to predict. For example, the meteorologist forecasts sunny weather for the weekend. As a noun, it refers to a prediction about the weather. You might hear, "According to the forecast, it will be cloudy all day." Another useful word is expected. We use this to talk about what is likely to happen. A sentence might go like this: "Snow is expected in the mountains tonight." You might also hear phrases like "chance of rain," which means there is a possibility it might rain, or "clear skies ahead," indicating no clouds are expected. There's also low and high when referring to temperatures. For instance, the high tomorrow will be 70 degrees, while the low will be 50 degrees. Now you're equipped to not only talk about today's weather, but also discuss the forecast. Practice makes perfect. Let's wrap up what we've learned today. We started by understanding basic weather vocabulary, words like sunny, cloudy, rainy, and windy. We then moved on to common phrases and questions about the weather, such as, "How's the weather today?" Or, "It's a bit chilly, isn't it?" From there, we built a conversation, learning how to ask and answer questions about the weather and how to comment on it. We discovered how to say things like, "It looks like it's going to rain," or "The sun is really strong today." Lastly, we looked at weather forecasts, learning phrases like, "The forecast says it's going to snow tomorrow," and "There should be clear skies all week." The language of weather is a great way to start a conversation and connect with people. Remember, the key to mastering any language is practice. So don't forget to practice these phrases and sentences every day. Until next time, keep practicing and stay curious about the world around you.